Hey, hello. Welcome to my YouTube
Hello.
channel. I'm here with Veronica, and we met on a retreat, an ayahuasca retreat that we went to this year. And yeah, I was just happy to connect with you and other like-minded people. And I just wanted to share with more people, and like I'd like to hear just kind of your background, your journey, your whole spiritual journey. So how you kind of like got to this point and just learn more about you. So if you want to share your journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelby. That's beautiful. Yes. First of all, thank you for having me here and choosing me to, take part in interviewing me and just wanting to know more about my story and sharing that with the world. And like you mentioned, we met at an ayahuasca retreat and it was a beautiful experience. And I think we were sitting next to each other like two, maybe
Yeah.
three or four people away, so nearly close.
Yeah, we're close.
Yeah. So it was nice to really meet you there. But yeah, to answer your question, I think you asked, to start maybe describing about my spiritual journey or how I got
Yeah.
into a spiritual journey. So, I mean, it's a whole story. But
Yep.
I was actually born and raised in Argentina, and I was raised Catholic by my mom. So she raised my older brother and I there until I turned 8, and I was very close to God at a young age. My mom is just a very devotional, pure-hearted woman, and she really ensured to instill that love of Christ in my brother and I when we were very little. But then we moved to the US when I was 8. My whole family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and I. And we tried to maintain like going to church every Sunday and trying to keep those traditions, but the move was so big and drastic and it just shifted a lot. My mom had to start working full time and, two jobs, and things were just very, I would say, kind of wobbly at home. So my relationship with God, and I would say kind of, shifted from my, I would say, from elementary, middle school, high school. It just started getting blurred. But I would still always do like my prayers. It was very religious based, right? I didn't really have that connection with the spirit, I would say. But then once I got to college, I spoke out about certain traumas that I had lived at home, and it just shifted. It was kind of like a catalyst to lead me into just really dark places. Honestly, I had to live through a lot throughout my life. And I like to say sometimes it takes going through and living through the darkest of times that gets you to really become a seeker, I would say, and be in search for God and for divine. So that's the way it happened to me. I had to take multiple hits, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that way, for me to start like, it was like almost like suffering after suffering after suffering. And I always remained persistent though. I'm like, you know what? Something told me, I think it was, yeah, while I was in college, um, I just hit my lowest state of depression at that time. But during that state, something kept telling me like there has to be more to
Mhm.
life than just suffering, right? There has to be a light at the end of this tunnel. Otherwise, life wouldn't make sense. Like, why would we be born just to suffer, right?
Mhm.
So there was always that thin thread of hope that
Yeah.
kept me going. And I moved to Florida because when we moved to the US, I'm in Virginia right now. So I went to college here and everything. But then while I was in that low state, I decided I need to move and leave this environment. I felt like I couldn't heal in an environment where all these bad things happen. So I left, moved to Florida for 5 years. And that's actually where my spiritual journey began. On the first year that I moved to Florida, I was actually really in my rock bottom. And, I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done, but they're part of the journey.
It's funny
And
because I went to Florida. That was like a rock bottom for me when I was
no
done.
way.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I feel like a lot of people end up in Florida and then they hit the
They
rock
hit a
bottom
rock
and then
bottom in Florida.
I don't know what it is, but oh, that's interesting. So the first year that I was there, I really hit my lows, and it got so low that I literally internally felt like if I don't make a shift, I'm going to die. Like it felt like spiritually, I was going to be gone. I don't know how to describe that feeling, but it was so drastic that it made something shift in me.
Mhm.
And that's when it was a Christmas, I remember, of 2018. And I remember asking my mom and my brother, hey, all I want for Christmas is just some money so I can go to my first spiritual retreat.
Oh,
I was being called to that, and I had never attended one before. But that's kind of what led me into that door opening, per se,
wow.
where I attended my first spiritual retreat. And for the first time, I felt like I opened up, like I was this rock that just like opened, and that allowed me to invite in love, like actually receive it consciously, right?
How did
And
you, sorry, how did you like find the spiritual retreat?
it's a good question.
Were you like
So
looking for it?
yeah, I actually the thought just came to me, right? I should go to one. And then I just started looking like on Google. I'm like
Mhm.
closest like retreats in Florida from where I was living. And
Mhm.
then one popped up like right on the beach, like in some Hilton hotel. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this a shot. It's close. I can afford it with,
Yeah.
some money from Christmas gifts.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, that's it just kind of appeared that way in my
And what
search.
did you, what did you like do on that retreat? What did they have you, what practices did they do?
Sure, yeah. So it's funny because I was just talking about this retreat with my mom last week, just remembering it, like reminiscing, like, wow, what was my first retreat like? And it was this one. So it was led by a mom and her daughter, very beautiful. And like I said, it was like right on the ocean, like they rented a space out of a hotel, and they kind of had us, they did different meditations, like guided meditations, like kind of inner, not fully inner child work, but more like visualizations of your younger self and like going into safe spaces within that. So it really opened for me this like realm that I never really tapped into within myself. And then it was very beautiful how they organized just the sharing with one another. They had time for people to share one on one and like in a group, and they incorporating sound bath healing, and then at nighttime they had like a fire right in the at the beach, and we did like these where you would write a letter. It was either a letter or writing out anything that you wanted to relieve or release yourself from, and then you would burn it in the fire, right, and like pray over it. So there was a lot of different things that were very powerful. They seemed little, but at that
Yeah.
time for me, because I never experienced something that deep, was like, wow, like it just totally changed my perspective because I could immediately feel the shifts within me happening, like so much release and so much acceptance that I hadn't opened myself to before.
Mhm.
Um,
So you had never meditated before that? Like that was your first time meditating?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that was my first time meditating, which is crazy. Thank you for asking that because I hadn't processed that before. But yeah, that literally opened the door for me to then start dabbling into like different meditations, different guided meditations. And what's interesting though is after that retreat, I became so close to God. Like I was journaling prayers to God like every day, every night. And I started meditating with tools that they had taught us. But then I was led directly, not straight back to Catholicism, but to Christianity, like full on.
Mhm.
And I became very religious again. So it
Mhm.
kind of like it opened me back to Jesus, which is good. I love Jesus, but I kind of closed off again to the spiritual side, and there was some aspects that I kept, but I became very um how should I say it? I became a Christian that was very like, if it's not this way, it's no way, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so for some time I was there. And then after I was going to church for maybe like a year, um, the spirit literally guided me. Like I felt intuitively the words come to me, that was, it felt like it was from my higher self. And she said, you're not going to find me in a church. You're going to find me alone in your room
Mhm.
meditating on my word.
That gives me
And
chills.
I know I literally got it too as I was
I love that.
and I literally left, like, and I had built like a lot of friendships there. So when they stopped seeing me, I started getting judged.
Yeah.
And they were like, why are you not showing up before? Like, or why are you not showing up to church anymore? You're not being a good Christian or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean the spirit? Like I was confused because in my mind I'm like, I'm obeying God. Like this is what I was instructed to do and
Mhm.
I'm going to obey, right? And so I took a season to just stop going and I would go in my room, I would read a scripture and just meditate, and I started downloading like Spotify guided affirmations, meditations, and then one thing led to the next, that obviously opened me deeper, and then that connected me to the yoga community I'm with now.
Mm.
And I think it was 2023, so 2 years ago, I got initiated into a lineage called Reiki Raja Yoga. So it's run by a guru whose name is Shailesh Kumar, and he merged two lineages. So Reiki, which I'm sure you've heard of before, many people have heard of Reiki. It was refounded by Mikao Usui from Japan, and he merged Reiki with Kriya Yoga. And Kriya Yoga is an ancient science of meditation, right? That comes from India, like
Mhm.
eons ago. So you merge the two. So now, I dove even deeper, and now I'm a Reiki channel and I meditate with Kriya Yoga. I guide meditations with Kriya like weekly. Um, and I would say, yeah, that's kind of the big picture of how my spiritual
Yeah.
path unfolded to where I'm at today.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Have you like dove into other religions like Buddhism and
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, after I got initiated into this lineage, because this isn't a religion, right? It's practices that one can incorporate in any religion, which is beautiful. Because no matter what religion you are, we share the same breath, we share the same love of God, right? There's no difference. So it actually opened me to accept all religions, and I naturally developed a curiosity to learn about them all.
Mhm.
So now it's actually opened me to understand scripture in a whole new way. Like the Bible, for example, I'm seeing how much it's misinterpreted
Mm.
worldwide because
Yeah.
people are not attuned to the spirit of God. They're just operating from their limited perception of logic and ego. They're reading words, right? And they're taking literal, they're looking at the world and they're like, oh, this because it says building churches, it means physical buildings or this and that. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, when you're attuned
Yeah.
to the spirit and you read the scriptures, you understand that the Bible is a spiritual book. Same with, in Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita, it's a spiritual book. It's beyond the things of this world.
Yeah.
And same with other religions, like Buddhism, I got into as well. Like I started learning different mantras that I chant. And they help vibrationally and healing in many ways in meditation. So
Mm.
yeah, it's something that I'm fascinated. Like I have a passion now to want to learn more about different religions and just teach and like show people like, hey, it doesn't matter which one you follow, they're all one and the same because they all lead to God who's
Yeah.
one, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at. I feel like there's truth in every single religion, and it's
100.
definitely the way that it's interpreted. And I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of, especially in Christianity, because that's kind of what I grew up in,
Mm,
I felt like it's very like misinterpreted. And
yeah.
then there's this person that I listen to, I always forget his name, but like the way that he interprets the Bible is like to me, it's like I recognize that as truth. And I'm like, if this guy was preaching like this in church every weekend, I'd be going to church every weekend. But
Yes. Yeah.
I'm like, please start a church. I'll go to your church.
I know.
But like, I've gone to church for a lot of my life, and it always felt like there was some sort of like kind of
Yeah.
disconnect in a
Yeah.
sense. And it's like when I actually hear something that is truth, it's like my body like recognizes that. So
100%, because you're attuned to the spirit.
mm,
You literally know. You're like,
yes,
But
yes,
yeah,
it's like a full body. Hmm.
to your point, yeah, like there's this book that I'm reading. Have you heard of Paramahansa Yogananda?
Did you use that for your last? I joined in on one of your
Oh, you
meditations,
did.
weekly meditations. Did you
Okay.
read from that?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So he's part of the Kriya Yoga lineage. So he wrote a book that I'm reading now. It's called The Second Coming of Christ, The
Mhm.
Resurrection of Christ Within You, and it's on the true teachings of Jesus. So it's literally him grabbing the Bible and like writing down all the truth from it. Like
Yeah.
all the like tackles all the misinterpretations, and it's kind of like I have the same feeling you experience when I'm reading that book. My soul is literally like, this is truth, you
Mm.
know? Because I love what he described in the beginning of the book. He said, this book isn't written by me, it's written by the Christ consciousness flowing through me, right? And that's like, once, there's these yogis that reach these high states of Christ consciousness, which, it takes lifetimes to get to that point. And people nowadays, everyone thinks they're enlightened, but that's another conversation.
So true.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Um,
to your point, yeah.
yeah, when you were reading that, because see, I have a hard time reading the Bible because I have a hard time, one, reading stories. I don't like reading
Mhm.
stories. Like, I want, like, give me just like facts and steps. And
Got it.
two, kind of like the language that it uses. So when you were
Mm,
reading that, I felt like it was almost kind of hard to understand the language that they were talking in. But
got it.
I wish there was like a book, if I don't know if you know a book or
Yeah.
maybe someone will make a recommendation of a book that kind of breaks it down in simpler terms, but like a
Mm,
spiritual way.
yeah, I agree. I agree. This book definitely has it's a lot of difficult verbiage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I think I'll have to think on that. If there's, I'm
Mhm.
sure there has to be books
Yeah.
that,
I'm
or
like,
maybe you're meant to write one. Hey,
I'll be channeling Christ and writing my own book.
maybe
Maybe
you're meant
one
to
day.
break it down in simple terms for the world.
Literally though, that's what I mean. No, I think I've read like other books that were more kind of like the spiritual laws, which I
Yeah.
mean it's still kind of hard to read, but I like it more
Mm,
if it's like, okay, this is like the law and this maybe on a slightly scientific level, like
mm,
this is what you
yeah.
should be doing because of like the energy, like on that sense.
Yes.
That works.
I know this is kind of unrelated to religion talk, but um, you've heard of Joe Dispenza?
Yeah. That's
Yeah, his
like
book.
which
Go
one?
ahead.
I'm
Oh,
saying breaking the habit of being yourself. That kind of like really
okay.
opened my mind because he
Right.
dove into like the
Hmm.
science behind energy and
Yeah.
like the power of your mind and manifestation. So that kind of was like that was I really enjoyed his stuff.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet, but I heard of it. I'm reading now, Becoming Supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
read
feel the same way about this book, that he really, he gives, not only does he break it down like with the
Mhm.
energies and like what to give focus to, but like provides really good meditations to like, based on science, to like
Yeah.
go through. So
I
yeah,
read that one second, but I like the breaking the habit of being yourself better.
you
I feel
like
like
that one
that one
better.
was even more kind of simple because
Got it.
the supernatural one, I felt like that was it's a lot of information in that
It
one.
is. It is.
Like
I love
I
to
gotta
read.
like take the time to like process every chapter because it's so much stuff.
It is a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, I like his work. So
Mhm. Really good work for sure.
yeah. Um, so let's dive into well, so you said that you started talking about what you had gone through. Like, did you speak to a therapist or like just
Mm,
talking out loud? Like, what was that process?
that's a good question. So yeah, I was 19 years old. I'm 31 now. So at 19, yeah, when I say I spoke out, meaning I like verbalized it to my family and like my friends. And then it's really interesting because when I talk about trauma and like people that have gone through like abuse, um, most of the times, even clients that I have today, they bury that for so many years. They just hide the fact that it happened to them, and so they're unable to heal because it hasn't come out, right?
Mm,
And so what happened in my experience, as soon as I spoke out in words like XYZ happened to me, it suddenly became real. Like,
mm,
oh, because when people suppress it, they still think, oh, I must be imagining this. You know how that happens sometimes when you doubt yourself about
yeah,
something. You're like, oh, it must just be me or something. It
yeah.
literally happens that way also with people that experience abuse and they don't speak out loud
Mm,
about what happened to them. So my experience was, as soon as I verbalized it out loud, it became so real that I'm like, did I just say that happened to me? And then that's when I hit my depression, right? Because it suddenly became real. And
Gotcha.
at that point was when I started, yes, I, like, to your point, I did see therapists, multiple. I probably have seen like 8 in total in my life for like years.
Mm,
And it helped me a lot in the beginning to just make sense of all the things I had lived through. And then over time, I've always been someone that as soon as I feel like, okay, I need to do the next thing. Like I need to keep healing. Like I just never stop, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
there's always something to better yourself in, right? Um, and yeah, I've always been that person. So whenever therapist and I wouldn't click anymore, I'm like, okay, this isn't right. I need something else.
Yeah.
But then I hit a wall with therapy in general. I'm like, okay, now I'm just talking and talking, and that's just
Yeah.
keeping me in the same loop. And as soon as I realized that, I stopped going to therapy. And then a door opened where a trauma healing life coach appeared into my life. And that's exactly what I had needed because he took me deeper. And I mean, he's a genius. We're still talking to this day. He's like one of my close friends. And he studied metaphysics for like 16 plus years, like insane. So he taught me how to really do like deep inner child work, shadow work, like guided me deeper into meditations with affirmations, and like it really allowed me to learn tools that I could implement on my own without needing to be dependent on someone else anymore.
Yeah. That's
That's
how
what I
it's
really,
usually.
which is up to your shirt. It allowed me to be a more sovereign being, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think it's good to have like a guide or someone that,
yes,
yeah, help you guide you along, but they should be teaching you how to kind of do it yourself and getting to yourself to a point that you can do it yourself.
100%. I couldn't agree more with that statement. And yeah, and even, because again, yeah, obviously, like having a guide and community is so important, right? But
Mm,
yeah, to your point, it's like one should be able to master certain tools to, like, when a trigger comes up or when something comes up, it's like, hey, you know immediately what to do. It's like, I'm going to sit, close my eyes, tackle it, come back, and then, you can talk about it with, whatever guide or community you have, because that's what builds the support too. So,
yeah.
you're not going through it alone
Yeah,
because
for
it does
sure.
get difficult in the healing journey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So do you feel like we ever get to a point where we're like fully healed?
Oh,
Or
good
that's kind of a
question.
tough question, but
That's a good
I feel
question.
like some people are like, well, you're never fully healed. You kind of
Mhm,
just learn how to deal with things,
mhm.
or I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm trying to think what I how I feel about that because sometimes it does feel like you could get stuck in just like this healing loop of I'm
Mhm,
broken and I constantly need to like
mhm,
heal myself and there's something wrong with me.
mhm.
It's like where's that line of getting out of that
Yeah.
point?
So that's a really good question, and I'll share my perspective. I know everyone has different opinions or perspectives on this, but my view is it all depends what your goal is, right? So for me, for example, my goal is just to find God fully. I want to be my full conscious self, fully in ever bliss. Like that's it, right? And to me is once you're living in that full enlightened state where you're one with God and nothing else, what else is there to heal?
Mm,
Right? So to me, it's like until one is able to move past the veils of Maya or the illusion of this world in every aspect of their being to the minutest cell, to the minutest atom, we all have work to do.
mm.
That's my,
So
that's
you
like,
think reaching full enlightenment would be like
yes,
the end game?
yes, 100%. And that, yeah, if one's not there and they say they're fully healed, I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. It's
Yeah.
like,
I don't
so,
think fully healed. It's just almost like because like I said, there's this point where it's like something's wrong or broken with me, I
Mm. So
guess.
yeah, to your point where you were talking about the perspective of it, right? Of like,
Yeah.
oh, if one tells themselves, "Oh, I'm broken" or "I'm not fully healed," I think it's all about perspective. Like, if one is able to be honest with themselves and say, "Okay, you know what? Um, I am in a journey." That's why I was talking about the goal, right? If someone's goal is to fully find God, they won't stop until they reach that point, right? But if someone's goal is just to, I just want to enjoy life. I just want to be happy. I don't care too much about being fully one with God. Then just enjoy life and, as you're meditating every day or at least making the effort, not making sure you're not falling like you're saying in the trap of like, oh, I'm broken. I have all this work to do. I have blah, blah, blah. Because then
Mm,
that's where we self-sabotage, right?
mm,
So I think it's very dependent on a person to person basis how they kind of view their healing journey, but I do see that it can be toxic for some people based on their perspective of like
mm.
oh no, I can't stop doing this or that until, I'm fully healed. But,
Mm,
because one can have a beautiful outlook on that, right? It just
yeah,
depends, right? One can
that's
be
true.
like, wow, I'm so blessed that God is allowing me the opportunity to work on healing myself every day. You see the shift in that?
That's
And
a good perspective
or
shift.
right. Or you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much more healing to do and like it's never ending, then
Yeah,
you're self-sabotage,
yeah, that's true.
So to me it's a perspective thing, but that's
Mhm.
my opinion.
So do you think everyone's, because I mean everyone has different, I think, um maybe goals or lessons that they have to learn here. Do you think it would be good if everyone was like reaching to the point of enlightenment, or some people that's just not even their path to reach full enlightenment?
Mm, I think and if we're speaking in like a particular lifetime, like let's say in our lifetime now and the people we know, that's not
Yeah.
going to be everyone's goal, right?
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong in that. It's like we all play a specific role in this show of divine, right?
Well, do you think
And
that more people are awakening to a point where more people, like majority of people, are reaching enlightenment on Earth? Like our consciousness is rising.
for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
I would say yes. Right now, we're definitely in times where, I mean, we're seeing it too, right? Like there's a lot more people suddenly that are shifting into awakening, at least either starting their journey to awakening.
Yeah.
But then that's a start, right? Then
Yeah.
there's going through, I mean, like I mentioned, like in reality, to reach because at the end of the day it's kind of infinite. God is infinite, right? So it's like what we say is full enlightenment here is just in the earth perspective,
Yeah.
right? But then
Mhm.
once you go beyond earth, you
Mhm.
keep going and you keep going. It's like an infinite
Yeah.
game of
It's
God, right?
true.
So
Definitely.
so yeah, but I feel like it's important for, at least is my perspectives, right? For us here on earth to keep the focus on just the next step, right?
Mhm.
Because we can also get too caught up. I notice a lot in the spiritual community, we get too out of the world where it's like we get lost in delusion or like in some other, place, but it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we also got to keep the next steps, right? Of okay, what's like your immediate purpose and then what's your ultimate purpose, right? Like for me, my ultimate purpose is to find God, for someone else it might be whatever, something else,
Yeah.
but it's going to be different for everyone in my opinion. And I think the beauty is that there are more people awakening, and the whole, to me, the whole beauty of it is that the reason we awaken is because we want to be happy. Everyone just wants to find peace, and that's the beauty of it, but we can't lose that that side of
Yeah.
that,
True. Great
yeah.
perspective. All right, we don't have much time left. Like I feel like
Okay.
this went so quickly. We're gonna have to do
I
like
know.
another time. Yeah.
I know there's so much to share.
Right. So I guess I quickly just want to dive into kind of what, like how you work with clients, what you do with them, and how they could work with you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So right now I'm doing one-on-one coaching, and I help anyone that's going through they need trauma healing, right? They're going through healing based on any traumas they've lived, whether it's abuse, childhood trauma, relationship trauma, because these are all things that I've experienced. So for me, because I've learned to overcome them, now I have the tools that I've mastered to overcome them myself, and then now I can help other people do that. And I talked a little bit about that. So I help people learn how to do proper inner child work, shadow work, and then like I mentioned, guiding and meditation with affirmations. That's why my business is called Flip the Script, because we're flipping any false negative beliefs like imprinted in people's subconscious minds and all of that, and flipping it into truth. Like what is the truth that God says about you, not what's currently there, right? So I help guide them how to do that. Like I have a list that I call the filthy 50, and they're maladaptive like mechanisms that are that you can call them limiting beliefs in a way, that
Mhm.
are stuck, right? And a lot of us have many of them.
Mhm.
And some of them I've worked through most of them. That an example could be like comparison, or attention seeking, or abandonment problems, right? So all these different things, and they all stem from childhood. I mean,
Mhm.
most of them, right? So I help people go back in those timelines and learn how to show up with loving presence and close those gaps into the present with God's love.
Love that. It's
Yeah.
awesome. You're doing God's work out here.
Oh, thank you. That's all I want to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Where
Mm.
can people find you?
Okay, so yeah, my Instagram is flip the script all one word underscore at the end. Or Veronica Fiorini, that's my full name.
Okay.
Or you can visit my website, which is flipthescriptlc.com. So those are the best two places to find me.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm definitely gonna have you on again because we have so much more to talk about. Like
Thank
that
you,
was
Shelby. I
just
would love that.
scratching the surface, I feel like. So yeah, thanks for being on.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, bye.